This episode is brought to you by Simply Eloped. Because wedding planning can feel like too much, Simply Eloped makes it easy and keeps it deeply human. They've planned over 14,000 personalized ceremonies in 37 stunning U.S. destinations, coordinating every detail with real care. Okay, some other destinations. New Orleans. Duh. Big brass band. Highly recommend. Did that at my wedding. Why not go to the heart of where you can find the best brass bands? Big Sur. Ooh. Windswept wedding photos off the Pacific. This one, though, this is definitely my jam. Sedona, Arizona. The new age capital of the known universe. Perfect place to get married if you're a little witchy like myself. You just bring your marriage license, and they take care of the rest. Your love deserves simplicity. Visit simplyeloped.com. That's simplyeloped.com. Today on CityCast Denver. 2025 was not a quiet year for Denverites who opposed the Trump administration. Thousands showed up to the No Kings protests or to rage against the regime, declare hands off, or take a stand at other local rallies. Conservative radio host Jeff Hunt tagged along at some of these, and I talked to him back in June, shortly after he captured his own assault on camera. We're bringing back that conversation today for a look at some of the ways these national political tensions played out in our city this year. Today is Tuesday, December 30th. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. Jeff Hunt, welcome to CityCast Denver.
Hi, Bree.
So you've been going to these anti-Trump protests all year in Denver, but on Tuesday night, you had an experience that you captured on film that I'd love to hear from you about because, well, can you just tell us what happened?
Yeah, so I've been to, as you mentioned, a lot of protests. I spent 4 days with Palestinian protesters at the DNC in Chicago. So I'm used to being in tense situations. In fact, I love it because that's the point where our public policy is debated. So I love being in the midst of those situations. I've never had a problem. Sometimes people get a little handsy, right? They'll kind of bump into you and try to push something or get a little edgier. And I just walk away. I'm not there to get into big confrontations with people. And I'm literally in the middle of filming myself in the street at 14th and Broadway, where there was a little bit of a break-off protest from the main anti-ICE protest. So the main one with microphones and all that stuff was right there at the front of the Capitol. And then just at the edge, 14th and Broadway, there was a little more kind of Antifa-oriented counter or protest that was going on. And so I go down there and I'm just kind of in the midst of talking to everybody. And then I stop and I'm filming myself. And I got kicked in the back really hard, kind of like a sucker kick type of thing, out of nowhere, not talking to anybody, no tense confrontations, nothing like that. And it hit me and jarred me. And you can see it in the video where I almost fall down and turn around and then pursue the guy to get him on camera because I want to get his face and get a sense of who this is and then let him know that that's not right. And whether you're somebody like me who's a conservative activist or a progressive, you have the freedom to be able to film in the streets and should be able to do so without fear of getting hit. So, yeah, confronted him, got him on video. We generally have a sense of who it is that did that. I'm not going to say who it is because the police are working through the investigations, but we're pursuing charges. It's not something I really want to do. I sat in the parking lot of the DPD yesterday going ugh.
Why are you doing it?
Yeah, well, I don't want to.
Right.
But, and because you kick off a really big system when you do that, right? And now I'm going to be tied to this person forever. And I'm generally a pretty forgiving person. I just want to move on with my life and have other things to do. Okay, I want to do other things rather than this. But I like going to these events, and I think it's important to send a message that if you do something like that, if you're going to physically attack me, I am going to take it all the way. So you need to think twice about that. And look, I end up with people with middle fingers in my face all the time and curse words. That doesn't bother me. But once you cross the line and you're physically attacking people and hurting people, then you need to be held accountable. And I want other journalists and media personalities to be able to have that freedom to be down even if you're at a conservative rally, like the March for Life, I joked, I saw Heidi Beadle like 30 seconds before this all happened.
Journalist in Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
She's been on
with
our show as well.
Colorado Times Recorder.
Yeah.
Heidi and I don't see eye to eye on anything. But I was joking with Heidi. I was like, hey, Heidi, I see you at these March for Life protests. And then I know you feel a little uncomfortable. I'm down at the anti-ICE protests. I feel a little uncomfortable. But Heidi needs to be able to go to the March for Life and feel safe too. So that message needs to be sent to anybody that's out there that you hit, you're going to be taken all the way through the legal process.
I want to step back just for a second because you said something about the protests where this happened. There was this main group, and then you said an offshoot that you identified as Antifa.
Kind of ish.
What is
Antifa-ish.
What does that mean to you?
So Black Bloc clothing, right?
Okay.
So
protecting identity,
all the way down. You just see the eyes. They tend to get a lot more animated. I've run into these folks in the past before, and they're at a different level of, I would say, anger, rage, frustration than what you would say. Now, Antifa isn't like, they don't necessarily wear membership identification. So it's hard to say clearly that those were Antifa. But that was the group that ended up marching up Broadway all the way to I-25 and then tried to engage up there. And that's where the unlawful orders were given. So they tend to be a lot more active. And to their credit, I've run into them now multiple times. The Denver Socialists that I think are the ones that put on a lot of these protests, like they're the main organizing folks. They oftentimes will keep their own members in check because they understand. And if you listen to the video, you hear that at the end, he goes to the perpetrator of the attack. Don't engage him. Don't talk to him. You're going to ruin our image. I don't know if you caught that in audio at the very end. You're going to ruin our image. I've run into that before where the organizers, the Denver Socialists, I think, or they wear red, tend to work really hard to make sure that their message is the message that leads and it's not distracted by things that are happening like vandalism or violence. So to their credit, they tend to try to police their own people pretty well. But this was an offshoot, yeah.
Okay. I find it interesting just because when I hear Antifa, I just think anti-fascism and the anti-fascist movement, which I would assume I think you're talking about the Party for Socialism and Liberation, the PSL folks, who probably are usually leading in red, or the Democratic Socialists. I do want to be clear, those are two different groups, but I mean, they all have similar ideologies, but it sounds like the group you're describing as Antifa is maybe, you say like more active, so you're like more physically confrontational?
Yes.
And that's who you followed?
That was the little subgroup that was on the side that I went to. I mean, they're half a block from each other, so it's not a big difference, but it was a notable difference.
Why go towards those folks and not along with the other folks in red?
Yeah, I covered both.
Okay.
I covered both. I was there, kind of walking around all of it. So the funny thing about these protests is that they oftentimes put somebody on me to follow me around, and then they interrupt my interviews to get them, and they do this little like, don't talk to this guy. Don't talk to this guy. I actually put out a video today about that because it's kind of funny. And then I turn around and I try to get them to talk, and it becomes this kind of little shtick. But I try to walk around and cover it all. And it's important for me to say this. I'm not a journalist.
Okay.
Okay. I'm very clear about this. I'm a radio personality who has a career in conservative activism.
So maybe could you see why folks in one group would maybe not want their people to talk to you? Sure, I don't know. Not saying that we shouldn't be talking to each other. I mean,
but I'm not, and it's important to distinguish me from an actual journalist. So I'm making videos. They're funny. They're little gotcha videos. That type of thing.
So they're gotcha videos. Are you clear with people when you're talking to them? I am not a journalist. I'm a conservative activist.
Yeah, if they ask, what I often ask them for is to tell me why they're out here.
Okay.
I don't manipulate the interviews in the sense of putting words in their mouths or editing it in a way that would really make them look bad from my perspective.
I just have to disagree for a minute because from watching the videos, I could see if I was in that group urging folks not to talk to you because they do come off to me as edited to make people look stupid that are talking to you.
Yeah. No, I disagree with that. What I do, and I do this on my show too. So I host Denver's Top Talk radio show. And we have, it's a call-in show, so people call in all the time. What we do is poke and prod around the edges of their policies. So my interview to you is not necessarily to just get your perspective. I want to challenge your thinking too. So think of the girl, for instance, that's saying, about criminals, about the deportation of criminals, right? We're having a discussion. I don't know if you saw that video. We're having a discussion about the deportation of criminals. I asked her about Laken Riley. Do you know the name Laken Riley? And she doesn't. Okay. I don't know. I would disagree that that's being edited in a way to make her look stupid, but it's very clear that she's not fully informed when it comes to policy issues. And that's an important message to get across, that you're dealing with people that are coming out to protest and they may not necessarily know all the policy nuances. And so I'm poking and probably the same way I would if you called into our radio show.
But I've seen videos of you with conservatives at conservative rallies, and you really, to me, they come off as softball questions to your friends versus poking and prodding people that you don't agree with.
I would disagree, because when I went, like the March for Life, for instance, you talking about those videos? The March for Life videos, I'll ask them, questions about when does life begin? Are you interfering with a woman's rights to choose? Those types of things. So
those feel different than specifically, do you know about the Laken Riley case that led to this legislation? That feels a little bit easier to me than, how do you feel about this rally that you're at about? And I mean, I guess we would characterize these differently. I would call that an anti-abortion rally. You would call it a March for Life.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But like, you asked one woman, like, where does your joy come from? I don't know if I've ever seen you ask someone you identify as Antifa, where does your joy come from?
Yeah, well, I push back and say there's not a lot of joy there. There's typically a lot of
I feel like that's an assumption you're making about people. I use a lot of cuss words and I'm a happy person. I just want to state that, like, I hear you, what you're saying.
Yeah.
This approach, but I just don't feel like you give an equal playing field depending on which kind of march you're at.
Well, that's a fair critique. And I don't think I'm trying to necessarily give an equal playing field either, because I'm not a journalist in the sense of I'm trying to cover the story from an objective way. I think I'm pretty clear about that. I think most people know that at this point. That's going to be a fun, kind of robust discussion where things are poked around the sides. And some people engage with that, others don't. So, and if somebody doesn't want to talk, we don't put it on.
I mean, you're giving a good case to me for why someone wouldn't want to talk. If you're asking one person you agree with what their joy comes from, and then another person give me a specific about a specific case, I can see where it doesn't seem like fun.
Okay.
I just want to, I don't know. I feel like the way that you edit the videos too can come off as like trying to exacerbate the situation to make this, to make someone you disagree with look not great.
I would disagree in the sense that I don't think that what you don't get in these videos is a kind of shouting back and forth type of thing. I've never said to anybody, I think you're stupid. I ask probing questions that they often can't answer. And I find that as interesting and compelling when you've taken the time to build a sign. So, for instance, Donald Trump, they might build a sign that says, Donald Trump's a king. What has he done that makes him a king?
I feel like he put out an AI-generated image of himself.
Well, you're answering that. But when I ask somebody that question, and they don't have an answer, right? So you took the time to build a sign. You've come down to a protest. And then when I ask a very simple, what I would say is a softball question, right? Tell me what you think he's done that makes him a king. And they don't have an answer. That, at least on the conservative side, is kind of entertaining to watch. But I don't necessarily see it as a gotcha question, mean-spirited,
maybe they're
cornering,
nervous?
Those types of things that possibly.
Does that make their protest invalid?
No.
Because they don't have an answer for you?
No.
Okay. This episode is brought to you by Cozy Earth.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. I love Christmas lights, pine and fir-scented candles, and of course, getting a little cozy and watching holiday movies. No better way to elevate the snuggly experience than with Cozy Earth's Bubble Cuddle Blanket. Cozy Earth's Bubble Cuddle Blanket combines comfort and style with its distinctively textured bubble design and ultra-soft faux fur feel. Featuring an extended plush pile and mid-weight construction, it's the perfect size for me and my husband and our 4-year-old to snuggle up and watch Home Alone on repeat. I asked my son what he thinks about the Bubble Cuddle Blanket, and this is what he said.
I love the Cozy Earth Bubble Cuddle Blanket.
I love cuddling with you in the Cozy Earth Bubble Cuddle Blanket. What about you?
Yes.
Should we get Daddy to cuddle with us? No, it's just you and me?
Yeah, no, me and you.
I love it. I love you.
Yeah.
Head to CozyEarth.com and use my code CozyDenver for up to 20% off. And if you get a post-purchase survey, be sure to mention you heard about Cozy Earth right here on CityCast Denver. Give the gift of comfort that lasts beyond the holidays and carries into the cozy new year. Go to CozyEarth.com. Well, let's go back to the video you were talking about where you were explaining that you were submitting a formal report to the Denver Police Department.
Yes.
You said in this video that you love Denver and were filing the report because you love the city so much. I have to say, we don't hear that from conservatives very often.
Yeah.
What do you see in Denver that you think maybe your fellow conservatives are missing?
Well, I think typically what conservatives are longing for in Denver is a return to back what it was like, I would say, in the 90s, early 2000s type of stuff, right? So
I grew up here. I just want to say we didn't always have a great reputation, if you remember the summer of violence. I would just say there's lots of incidences where we could see either side of a Denver.
So we used to host the Western Conservative Summit in Denver. And when we would do so in 2012, 2013, what people do, the experience that they would have is they would come to the event at the convention center and they would go out to restaurants all along 16th Street Mall and enjoy that. When I tried to host the Western Conservative Summit here in 2022, I think was the last one we did here, the feedback we got is, we'll never attend this event again if you host it in downtown Denver, which was not typical of the response we got from our folks. They didn't feel safe in this city. The homelessness, the drug use, the smell of urine, the closed restaurants. So what conservatives are responding to is they want to get back to that idea of being able to freely enjoy the city without fear. And what I pushed Mike Johnston on is what I call the woman in pearls and diamond rings theory. Have you heard about this?
No, but I actually have a tweet from you that I was going to ask you about where you said this in November of 2024, quote, Denver is crumbling because people with disposable income won't visit it. City budget is squeezed. As a result, lower sales tax revenue. Denver will continue to decline until women in fur coats, pearls, and diamond rings can walk the 16th Street Mall. Safety first. I feel like you're describing someone from like 1900.
Possibly.
Tell me about this theory.
So the theory is, and the image is used to give you like a bold image, right? But the city of Denver requires sales tax in order to operate. I mean, it's 50% of its revenue comes from sales tax. And you only get that money if people spend and buy things. You can't force people to give it up in a tax unless they're willing to freely part with their own money. So you have to have a city that's so safe that the people with disposable income can freely walk this city. And people with disposable income don't visit places they don't feel safe in. I think there's an actual law of physics that criminals and families won't operate in the same space. Because if you're a criminal that is kind of free to operate, then there's obviously not enough police in order for the families to feel safe to be in that spot. And if there's enough police to where families feel safe to come to the city of Denver, well, then obviously there's not criminals because there's a lot of police operating. So the city of Denver, I think it's pretty simple. For Mike Johnston to turn the city around, he needs to basically do what George Brauchler did at his press conference. I don't know if you remember this. When George became the district attorney of Judicial District 23, he brought out a big map and he said, we're going to be so tough on crime in Judicial District 23. That's Douglas County, parts of Arapahoe, Elbert, Lincoln County, that if you choose to do crime here, you will pay a very serious penalty. And in fact, he brought up a map and he says, here are all the roads where you can drive around our county if you're a criminal, because we're going to prioritize families first. If the mayor of Denver wanted to even come up with implement his ideas around, housing first for homeless, those types of things, he needs money to do it. You get money from people with disposable income freely visiting this city and feeling safe enough to be here. So crime has to be his top priority, his number one top priority, so he can bring in the money to do the other stuff he wants to.
So you think that the answer to solving the crime problem, however you perceive it, is more police?
Police the hell out of this city.
Something else you mentioned when you were talking about a lack of feeling safe here was smelling urine.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, have you ever thought about advocating for public restrooms?
I see those as kind of weird. I'll be honest. Maybe
why do you think people are peeing on the street, though?
I've seen them in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And it was just a dude kind of peeing in a urinal in the middle of a community. Maybe I would be open to it. You'd have to, but they seem a little weird to me. But
a bathroom that everyone can use is weird?
Well, the ones I've seen,
okay,
it's just he was like standing in a corner, like fully exposed.
Well, I would say that's not all of the types of public restrooms.
With like a little bit of things on the side to protect.
I'm just trying to think of
he was like peeing in the middle of a.
But like solutions for that,
sidewalk.
Right? Like police aren't going to fix somebody. I mean, sure, they can stop someone from urinating on the street, but you're a human, right? When you got to go, you got to go.
Yes, correct. So I would be a little concerned about the expense too. Where was it? Was it San Francisco where they built a really expensive public bathroom? And it cost like millions of dollars. So I'm not sure it's the best use of taxpayer funds, but I understand what you're saying. If it would solve maybe one of the problems of it smelling so bad.
Sure.
But I'm just concerned about what it would look like and the cost. So I'm open to the idea.
I'd recommend Hawaii. They have all public beaches and those all have public restrooms.
Okay.
It's incredible. You have 4 kids.
Yeah.
You know what it's like when a kid's got to go to the bathroom. Anyway,
Right.
we're not here to talk about bathrooms. It's just it's something I find fascinating when people lump that in with crime. It's interesting to me. Paul has a little bit of information here. CBS says a private company ended up donating a prefab bathroom, but the cost still added up to about $200,000. The city said union workers had to connect the plumbing and build other infrastructure. That was the San Francisco one you were talking about.
Yeah.
So sure, costly. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Before we go,
Yes.
I have to ask you a really important question because you've posted about this several times. Why do you hate nose rings in women?
Oh gosh, do you have a nose ring?
I don't, but many of my ilk do.
Yeah.
I'm a Catholic witch from a very queer world, and I just noticed that.
Are you an actual witch?
Uh-huh.
Really?
Yeah,
and
I'm also a confirmed Catholic. So we come in all stripes.
Ooh,
I go to church in a different way.
This is just the beginning of a very beautiful relationship we're going to have.
So yeah, okay, I will be fair. Our producer Olivia has a nose ring, and she saw that and was like, "Why does he hate nose rings so much?"
I'm kind of an old school Republican in the sense that I'm like, girls with pearls are just really cute.
Oh my gosh.
Did I make you laugh? Did I make the witch laugh?
You can. Hey, witches are fun too. You don't know if you ask some of these Antifa people some more joyous questions, you might find out there's some folks that are having fun.
So here's what I'm going to do, Bree.
Yeah.
Next time I'm down there, I'm going to ask them about their joy.
Yeah, please.
That is going to make a hell of a video.
I'd love to see it.
Where does your joy come from?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd love to see it.
Brilliant. I just can't get kicked next time.
I agree. I totally agree with you. I agree. I don't want anyone to get kicked. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for joining me.
This was fun, Bree. Good questions, by the way. That was good. Thanks. I like this. And feel free to join our show anytime, too, because this is what we do every day.
I don't know if I could walk into that lion's den, but I'll think about it.
I mean, you could always call in, too.
That's true. Thanks, Jeff.
All right. Thank you.
That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed this show, why not take a minute to tell the Western Conservative Summit about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to our morning newsletter and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. Oh, and by the way, we're taking some time off to ring in the new year, but we'll be back on Friday with our January Guide to the City. Bye-bye. Rage Against the... This pun is too much. As a Rage Against the Machine fan, I'm just kidding. I am a Rage Against the Machine fan, but that's beside the point. Okay.